welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and today's guest is Dr. Michelle Klein, and we're speaking on the topic of different versions of motherhood. Dr. Michelle and I go back many, many years. We're both family wellness chiropractors, and what's so amazing about Michelle is that she is a third generation doctor of chiropractic. She's also board certified as a clinical nutritionist and a certified applied kinesiologist. She has a deep understanding that the body has an innate intelligence and incredible power to adapt and heal itself given the proper environment. She's always loved children and has studied extensively to advance her expertise in her care for pregnant women, babies, and children. Dr. Klein is licensed as a doctor of chiropractic, studied at New York Chiropractic College, which is also where I attended, and graduated in 2005. She holds a master's in applied clinical nutrition and also is a board certified nutrition specialist and a professional applied kinesiologist and Webster certified by the ICPA. She's currently working on earning a certification from the Academy Council of Chiropractic Pediatrics through the ICPA. And when she's not treating patients, she travels to North Carolina to spend time with nieces, hiking, camping, snowboarding, does photography. And I'm not going to be a spoiler alert, but you're going to find out why her travel has been somewhat limited the past few weeks, and her life has completely transformed as she's discovering a different version of motherhood. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So this is exciting. So you and I have known each other for many, many years. And, I really have a lot of admiration for the work that you do as a fellow family wellness chiropractor and your passion for helping to support the body and its innate intelligence and healing, including babies and pregnant mamas and really the population that I love working with as well. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So today we're talking about a topic that I've never covered on Well-Adjusted Mama before, and that's foster care and adoption. And it's such a relevant topic because everything in my podcast is around motherhood and parenting. This is a version of motherhood, and that's why I think it's so important that we cover it. And when I found out a few weeks ago that you're going through this process yourself, I was like, oh, good, I can get her on and we can talk about it. So, I'd love for you to just tell the audience a little bit about who you are and why you're so passionate about this topic.
So, like you said, I am a family wellness chiropractor and I've been working with kids my whole career. I love working with them. And basically I wanted to become a mom. It's something that I've started to feel the strong desire a number of years ago. And for whatever reason, it wasn't happening, kind of organically. And I decided that I was going to pursue not only adoption, but also foster care. And what happened was I decided to basically pursue adoption. And then I was talking to my mom, actually, and we were saying while I started the adoption route, why not also consider foster care? Because usually with foster care, you'll have a baby much sooner than with adoption. And so I decided to go down that route. And basically through last year, it took about 8 months and I became certified as a foster parent in New York. And then time kind of went by and I was like, I wonder if I'm going to get a baby. And, I officially became certified in November, and come December, January, I was like, I don't know, is this really going to happen? And I was getting a little bit discouraged, to be honest. And I also at that time signed with an adoption attorney and, really got serious about going down that road. And I then got a call. I was away for Christmas and New Year's, and then I came home, and 2 weeks later, I got a call early in the morning from a caseworker, basically saying to me, can you take 2 babies? And I, I was only certified for one baby. At first I was like, if you say I can, sure. Um, but basically it's like, it's amazing. It's when it rains, it pours, right? And it was like double the blessing. And I took them in and here we are. So they've been with me for, I think tomorrow will be 6 weeks.
Wow. And you have two boys, right?
I have two little boys. Yep.
And how old are they?
They are 2.5, almost 3. And the baby is now 16 months.
16 months. Wow. So you have toddlers.
I do.
Are they brothers?
They are. Yep.
Oh, wow. So that's also why it's so precious that they are kept together in the same household, I believe, right? Because of that relationship.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's, most parents, they go through, pregnancy and then a newborn and then you get a toddler. And, I thank God that I have the experience with the kids for so long, because it was just like a major dive in.
I mean, there's so much patience required with toddlers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're, it's a new story every day, but it's fun.
Yeah. And I love how you just this is something that you've yearned and longed for years. And, you've been blessed with this amazing opportunity to nurture and care for these two little boys. Can you talk a little bit about what that, even just getting approved as a foster parent, like what does that process look like?
So, I mean, in New York, which I guess it is state specific, but for me, it was, I went to an orientation meeting. And then at that meeting, which, I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like a lot of people probably get scared away just from going to that meeting. They kind of tell you all the possibilities, and, thank God I have not encountered most of that, but it's, you go to the orientation meeting and then you take classes weekly for some months. And then there's a ton of paperwork back and forth. They do a background check, everything. I mean, literally they know every last detail of my life. And they just, they really do their due diligence to make sure that a family who's taking in a child is a legitimately good family. And I, as much of a headache as some of that was, I do appreciate the process. And I think that it is really important, because you want to make sure, obviously, these kids are going to a good home.
Yeah, it makes sense that this is the state's responsibility to take and make sure these children are in good hands.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, I'm a chiropractor. I run my own practice. I always have. And so I tend to be, more independent and doing things on my own. And I'm not a major fan of systems. And with that said, I will say this system in Nassau County is very impressive. They've done a phenomenal job, and it's like, they really care, which for me means a lot. When you're working with kids, you want to make sure that they're really taken care of, and it's not limited to me. It really is a team approach with foster care, and
which makes a lot of sense. There's social workers. Who else is part of that team?
It's social workers, it's the parents, it's the judge, it's the attorneys. I mean, there's just so many people involved.
Yeah. Healthcare practitioners that are, pediatricians. So yeah, I mean, it is a team approach, and that's important too. That, like you said, they're not just dropping these kids off at your house and saying "see ya." Like, you're getting, even now in the past 6 weeks, I'm assuming that there's been pretty regular check-ins and support and guidance. Because this is your first time.
Big time, and I have to say, being a single woman and my first time. I'm a single mom, yeah. And doing this kind of on my own, it's actually kind of nice having the support network kind of built in. And then obviously beyond that, family and friends. But it's like, I feel like for the first time doing this, it's actually, it's kind of good.
Yeah. And I appreciate, also mentioning like, yeah, you don't have a partner that's helping you. And that's two kids. I mean, you're outnumbered, but you do have supportive. I know your mom is very supportive and a big part of your life and friends in the area. So I'm sure you've called on them as well for help and guidance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The first, the first 24 hours I had, my mom and friends, they came over and I had them literally move out half of my apartment because, toddlers, right? They want to get into everything.
Oh, yeah. Your house wasn't toddler proofed.
No, it was baby proof for a newborn, but not for toddlers. So,
animal.
Oh, yeah. We very quickly altered things.
Oh my gosh, I love it. And I just love like you got the call, and how long from when you got that call to when they showed up at your house? It was quick. 24 hours?
23 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And like you said, you're self-employed, you have your own business, you care for so many families in your community. And obviously you had to take a little bit of I don't know how you did it. You took a little break from the practice to get this going.
So basically, they came. I very quickly realized that, they needed me to be there present as a constant for them in the beginning.
Yeah.
And, for them to feel secure and safe and so on and so forth. And so I purposefully took a week off of practice. And all my patients understood, thank God. And they really, they understood, they were supportive. And then the second week, I did plan to go back to practice, but I didn't have any childcare. And it was very hard to find last minute. And so I eventually, thank God, found childcare week 3. And so the first 2 weeks I was actually with them, 24/7. And it turned out to be good though. It was good because, they had to get used to me. I had to get used to them. It was a good transition period.
Yeah, you have to learn about them, like what their needs are, how you can support them. You can only do that by being present.
Absolutely. So that's what I did. And then, once I found childcare, I was able to go back to practice, which became very quickly limited hours. I used to, kind of do whatever.
Hey, you were a free woman.
I was. And I very quickly had to change that. And, it's really, I feel like, and I had mentioned this to you, I think the resiliency factor is so strong, and surrender. And it was like, yes, I was a free woman, independent, did what I wanted to do. And it was like very, very, very quickly, it had to go from, caring about having, an organized, neat apartment to chaos. And, going from, practicing till 10 o'clock at night to no, we have to stop at 4 o'clock. And, I used being able to sleep in, and now bam, we're up at, 7 o'clock is wonderful. So it's like, and being up all night and whatever. And like all these things just changed literally overnight. And that surrender factor for me was huge. And I said to myself, I was like, if it was this huge for me, for the kids, it must have been just astronomical. And it's like, to think about it, like the change for me was what it was, but for them, they're coming to a new home with a new person. They're little, like their perception of this world, taking that into account, combined with, all the change in their lives. And it's unbelievable when you look at them, because they're really just precious, amazing, sweet, like just incredible little beings.
Yeah. And I think that is something that is really important for moms listening or women listening that are thinking about this process. That, and I remember even hearing it from at my son's preschool, that children are so resilient. And I would be like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And I don't think I really fully owned it because I was so focused, like from our chiropractic training of like, oh, their subconscious minds being developed those first 7 years. I was so focused on that programming and that patterning and not like trying to ruin my child, right?
Yeah.
And I forgot that there is this whole other amazing component that is they're much more resilient in a lot of ways than adults. And their patterns are still being formed and not set in stone. And there's pliability, there's flexibility, there's all of these things, adaptation, right?
Yes.
This is much easier when we're young. And so I think that's something that is really powerful and uplifting for people that, especially if you're looking to adopt a child that's not a newborn, right? And so they've already had some life experiences. Well, even a newborn had an in utero experience, right? That was out of the mom's and parents' control.
100%.
But, we can't control everything. That I love to use the word surrender. And, we take take what we get and we mold it from there, and support however it needs supporting.
Yeah. And, adaptation is something, as we know as chiropractors, right? That's something we have to do every day in relation to our environment and, whatever input we get into the nervous system. And I feel like, this is, of course, the conversations about foster care and adoption and on, but motherhood, but I think it really applies to everybody right now. And I think in terms of families going through even just living life right now, right, in our current environment, I feel like it's so important to acknowledge that, as difficult as times can be for children in particular, they very obviously do have those adaptive skills. And it's just about really creating that, steady, secure, safe environment for them and giving them what they really need, which is that, nurturing and deep connection and love. And I think that, I feel like a lot of people, including myself, I said to myself, am I going to be able to truly love a child that's not mine? And the answer is an absolute yes. And it's, it's interesting. It's like, I don't know. It's just, it's been a strong learning curve. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's so beautiful what you just said. Like that child doesn't have to have your genetics for you to just fully fall like madly head over heels in love with them. And really just, it's such a powerful, like, that whole like, mama bear, like you will, as women, especially and I mean dads too. I don't want to throw that, but like that parenting pull, like you will do whatever it takes to keep that child safe. And not just, safe, but really like, what does this child need to have an optimal, development, right? And achieve their full potential. Like, I think that's, especially for conscious parents, right? Like we're having an awareness, like, we can do things differently than the way we were parented. And, and what does that look like? And how do we become more aware and conscious of these different types of habits and patterns that we can now instill and model for these children?
Absolutely. And, knowing, especially with these guys, knowing that, I feel like it's a finite opportunity for me in terms of timing, to be able to give that over to them. And, because with foster care, the goal is always reunification with the family. And so it's, I have them now.
Fall in love, but then that this is a temporary relationship.
Yeah, it's that part is incredibly, incredibly hard. And, I just try not to think about it right now, but.
Right. Do you have any timeline with this specific case? Like, I mean, what does that look like?
Well, that's the other definition in foster care, which is everything is unknown. Because
so you're really being comfortable with uncertainty.
Yeah.
There's no future plan. You just take it day by day. I mean, it's really forcing you to be completely present.
Yes. And Laura, like, I know you a long time. You might know this about me. Like, that is not really the way I was. And, I was a planner. I was, always thinking ahead. I was, this is like strongly out of my comfort zone as far as, the foundational piece of who I am.
Yes. Which is why I think it's so amazing that you're like learning from that.
Absolutely. And, the reality
a lot of people, but yeah, I remember like with COVID, like how it hit your practice, and you could tell it was really uncomfortable for you to have to like change the way you practice, which, it was hard for all of us.
Yeah. And the reality is that, the learning curve I've gone through, it's like, the reality is that, tomorrow is not guaranteed. We never know what tomorrow brings. And I feel like that's been a universal lesson anyway through COVID for everybody. And I think that universal lesson of just being present and honoring the now is just huge. And
Huge.
yeah, and it's like I've just dropped completely into that because I have no other choice, right?
You don't have any choice. You like are submerged present time. How do I connect? How do I love and nurture these little young beings? And that's fascinating because, and to your point, it's like you're not like, oh, let me plan this upcoming vacation per se. Like those types of things just aren't probably as important right now. It's just like,
right.
There's a little bit of survival too. I can only imagine, especially those first few weeks.
Oh, in the beginning, definitely.
You're like, oh, what am I doing here?
In the beginning, for sure. Yes.
So like you said, you have no idea how long these little boys will be with you. And in general, right now, it sounds like there's not an opportunity to actually adopt them themselves, because the goal is to get them back to their parents.
Correct.
Okay.
Uh-huh. But I feel like it's, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the universe works in funny ways. And I feel like I had signed with the adoption attorney just a few weeks before they came. And I feel like it's just, they're supposed to be here, even in the beginning when it was just so hard. I remember just, once I put them to bed at night, I would sit in their room and just kind of pray for them and think about everything. And I would think about it where it's like, they were placed here, right? They were meant to be here. And I feel like it's, the opportunity is there for me to get my feet wet in the parenting world. And, it's like, to be honest with you, like I want to become a parent, right? But as I would think about it before they came, right, I definitely had certain things that made me anxious about the whole idea of it. And all of those anxieties are gone now. And it's like, like if I could do this, I could do, one child.
Easily do one child.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there was just so much to learn from this whole process, right? And then to your point, even if it's temporary, finite, and then you adopt one child, right? You'll be better prepared for that adoption.
Absolutely. And I also feel like, with these guys specifically, they have the rest of their lives to, develop and grow and learn and live their lives. And I feel like, even this time period that I'm with them, whatever it might be, I know that I'm giving them something that they may not have had. And it's like, I feel like it's an honor to be able to provide that for them. It's the same thing when a child comes for an adjustment. It's like, we're with them for that finite time and we're giving them that adjustment that day. But it's like, it's powerful, right? And
It is.
And, the lasting effect of that is huge. So I don't minimize that. And I think whatever time I have with them, I really sincerely value and appreciate. And, that's the other thing. I'm like, massively in gratitude. And it's like, I feel like that's just, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to be living in that space right now.
It really is. And yeah, I love that. I do want to switch gears and talk a little bit about the adoption process, because I know you've been going through that now as well. Like what that looks like. What's the, what's the cost and like the timeline for that?
Yeah, that's another one.
Internationally.
I mean, I'm looking to do a domestic adoption. It's a little bit less complicated than international, from my understanding. I signed with an adoption attorney, which you can do that or go through an agency. The cost is kind of unknown because it depends on so many factors. But I mean, there's the attorney costs, there's the birth mom costs, there's the, medical costs potentially. There's lots of different, costs that may come up. I'm really at the beginning of that journey, so I can't call myself an expert on it. But in terms of the timeline, it really is unknown. So
you're essentially looking to connect with a woman who's pregnant.
Correct.
Who's looking to then give up her baby for adoption right after the birth.
Yes. Whose birth plan is adoption. Yeah.
Right. And does the mother have to be like, okay, that it's a single mom as opposed to a couple? Or I don't know if they have any like feedback or guidance on that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's lots of adoptive families and there's lots of moms who are, looking to place their baby for adoption. So it's like kind of funny to say, but it's a little like dating where you have to like make a match. And
a pregnant woman who's looking for someone who's holistic and wellness minded, like who's completely committed. Your child, I know, is going to have organic, nutritious food.
Of course.
I mean, ideally, I even know about another chiropractor who adopted a baby, and the birth mom continued to pump milk and give them the breast milk for months.
Yeah.
So, having like a relationship like that, if that's even possible, I know you would love that opportunity to give your baby breast milk.
Of course.
Even possibly be at the birth. I know this chiropractor actually caught the baby.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a home birth and he caught the baby. And so, I mean, there's all types of opportunities and relationships here. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, listen, everything you just said is absolutely ideal. And I would absolutely love that scenario. However, there's also lots of scenarios where, and that's the other thing, I've also learned through this process with foster care where it's like, sometimes things are less than ideal, right? And kind of rolling with that is also really important.
Very important. Like you might not be able to, I know, because you're a nutritionist as well. You might not be able to control what that pregnant woman eats, right? And
right.
You and I both know how much nutrition impacts the fetus and even, and in medication exposure or, drug use or whatever.
Exactly.
But there's certain things out of your control. And that really goes back to the uncertainty and the surrender and just being like, I'm going to love this child no matter what. And, and not even, and really like kind of also letting go of any like blame or shame because, a woman whose birth plan is adoption, I feel like that's very, that woman's has a lot. There's a lot going on for that to be part of her birth plan, right? And that's
precisely
a big decision and a hard decision. And I'm very emotional.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing when it comes to the adoption kind of like triad of, the birth mom, the adoptive mom or parents, right? And, I guess the legal, the attorney, right? When we talk about that, it's like, I feel like in my opinion, the most important thing is compassion and empathy. And it's like, it's not like an easy situation for anybody involved. And I think that, especially for the birth mom, I feel like and I've brought this up to the attorney actually, when I met with her, it's something where I really feel for her, right? Whoever she ends up being. And it's like, I feel like, however, I can support her. I want to be able to do that in addition to obviously caring for and loving the child. And I think that, it's like you're kind of adopting a family, right? It's not just the baby.
Right.
If people are open to that, but that's, in my mind, that's ideal because they've done so much research to see. And I feel like it just seems like, for the child growing up, it's really, really important that they know their identity and where they came from and that they have some level of connection to their biological family.
Yeah.
And
like a visitation or something like that.
Yeah. Whatever we can do to maintain connection is really important for the baby. So I would be fully supportive of that.
So we had a little bit of technical difficulties, and unfortunately, this podcast got shortened. And Dr. Michelle and I tried to connect another time, and we had technical difficulties. So she asked me to pass along a little bit more information, specifically around the support networks that have been vital for her as a foster mom and as she prepares to become an adoptive mom. There is a Foster and Adoptive Parent Association, FAPA, that she got connected to through the Department of Social Services. And as she had mentioned earlier in the interview, her support network is really the people that love and care and know her the best, that are geographically local to where she's at, Long Island, including family, friends, patients, and her community, like local moms group, neighbors in her building, etc. Because there's that day-to-day support that's just required, not only as a foster or adoptive parent, but especially as a single parent. I think we would all agree she's such an inspiration. And I just want to also reiterate some of the themes that came up during this episode, which I just think are amazing life lessons, that when there is trauma, physical or emotional, there's resiliency and adaptation that's required, as well as empathy and compassion. And I think that if we can all practice that more in our lives, we can really create more of a healing world.